Shalom, Rabbanit Hamutal. So happy to have you back.
I'm very happy to be back.
Ken.
So I want to tell you a very funny story. When I was in the States, one day my neighbor came up to me and she said, you don't know what happened. It's horrible. I'm like, what happened? She was like, I was called to a jury duty.
Wow, we don't have that in Israel.
We do not. She said, it's like miluim when you're being called up to the army. And I said,
no,
it's
not the same.
But it's a little bit the same in the sense that she had to go.
Ken.
She had to go to become a jury.
It's mandatory?
Exactly. She has to go. She wanted to get out. I don't know if she could at the end, but there's nothing you can do. You have to leave your job and your kids and just go and...
And you don't know for how long?
Exactly. And you don't know what's the trial about and how long it's going to take and who's going to be there with you. It's very complicated.
But at the end, the jury are the ones that are actually ruling.
Exactly.
They're the ones that are deciding it. It could be also in murder cases or in like severe cases, or is it just...
Yes,
wow.
And I told her, listen, this is very different. We don't have it in Israel.
Thank God.
Although we don't have Sanhedrin today, but everything is different. Wow. So yeah. So if you're in America, it could happen to you. It could not happen here in Israel.
So Sanhedrin, how happy are we to start Sanhedrin?
Yes, we're about to start an amazing Masechet.
Masechet, and I think a lot of people mistaken think that Sanhedrin is about the judges.
Right.
But Sanhedrin is not just about the judges. The idea of Sanhedrin is to say, here we have a state. We have, I don't know if they would call it a state, but they would call it a Medina.
Yeah, a Jewish state, kind of. Yeah.
But how would you run the state from a Jewish point of view? How does all the ma'arachot, how does all the organizations, how does it work in a Jewish way? So the very important way to control and to make sure that it's a just society is through Sanhedrin.
Yes, and I think let's talk about the differences between what they had in the time of the Torah and during the time of the Bet Mikdash and what we have today. Not in Israel, but let's talk a little bit about the United States because it's easier. So first of all, another thing that they have in the United States and we don't have here either in the time of the Torah or today is a constitution.
So Israel doesn't have a constitution.
No, it doesn't.
And in the time of the Gemara, in the time of Mishnah of Sanhedrin, also they didn't have a constitution.
Right.
Their constitution, can we say that it was the Torah?
Yeah, so actually the law in the time of the Gemara and the Torah comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't make up the rules. We only have to judge according to the rules, but we don't make up the rules.
But Chachamim does. So we have Torah shebekhtav and Torah shebe'al peh.
Yes.
Chachamim can...
But initially, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the source of the authority. It's not human, like the Constitution. It's not about people writing the law. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote the law. In the Torah, we have Torah shebe'al peh, we have Mishnah, we have ways of understanding and ruling accordingly. But the source of the authority is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's God, it's not us.
Okay, so that's the first difference.
It's
not human, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu authority to rule the world.
Yeah.
We can interpret it,
exactly.
We can explain it, but it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu ruling.
So Chachamim have to understand the Torah. They have to say, okay, this is a different situation. We don't know. We're going to go back to the Torah and try to think about the rule accordingly. But it's basically, as I said, everything comes from the Torah. Whereas in the United States, you have to read the Constitution and say, okay, so this is 1, this is 2, this is what I'm going to rule about. The second thing is who's going to execute whatever it is you decided upon. So in America, as in Israel, it's a government. You have someone to execute the law. And in the time of the Torah or the Mishnah, it was the king. It was a Jewish king, and he was the one executing the law.
And what about if you lived in Bavel, or if in Israel you had a king that was not Jewish?
So
is it also there the one that are ruling?
So everything changed once we don't have sovereignty anymore and we don't have the Bet Mikdash. But let's talk about the perfect situation when we do have it.
The ideal situation, the king is the one in charge of executing the rulings of the Sanhedrin.
Exactly. And then let's go into the court system. So in Israel, in America today, we have a court system. And at the time of the Mishnah, the Torah, and the Gemara, everything was different, right? We had 3 different systems of courts, starting with a lower one and ending in the Sanhedrin, right?
So, and the idea is that you have the little things, like in between neighbors, argument, like what we say that are suits that you're suing someone on a very low sum of money, or that it's like something tiny in between the community, in between like in your city. And that's why you have court that is made out of 3 people. These 3 people are the judges, or you can ask 3 people to be the judges. And
so it could just be your neighbors.
So again, we're going to get into it in the Mishnah, in the Gemara. You can choose it's called Zabla, Ze Borer Lo Echad, Ze Borer Lo Echad. It could be people that you choose. It could be Dayanim that you're going to them because you want them to be your judges. But it could also be the Dayanim that the city is like putting Dayanim in the days of the market in order to make sure that if people are arguing, they will have a place that will settle their arguments, or people won't fight, and there will be a place to make justice within society. So it's like the responsibility of the city or the community to have places of justice.
So the first Beit Din is Beit Din of 3 people.
Beit Din of 3 people.
Everywhere, every city would have them.
Okay.
It's not very complicated, and they only rule about money-related issues.
Exactly. I took your loan, you didn't pay me back, you took it from me, you stole from me. All of those things, what we call mamonot, dine mamonot, this is all will be in the courthouse of 3. But then we have the higher level, and the higher level will be of 23. We call it Sanhedrin Ktana.
Yeah.
And Sanhedrin Ktana, she can also start ruling in Dine Nefashot, but only in the most simple cases of Dine Nefashot. When it's obvious, there's edim, there's witnesses, there's hatra'ah. Nachon, when people are telling them, be careful, don't do that, you're risking killing someone, and then they still go ahead and do that, and you have 2 witnesses that are seeing it, and it's like very simple, on the table kind of a case, and that's something that Sanhedrin Ktana can do. It's 23 people. They are in every county, but
not in every city.
Exactly. It depends on the size of the city, or the size. I wouldn't even say a city. I would say a community.
Yeah.
Because if you think of Sanhedrin Ktana, it's something that they also had in Bavel, and we'll see it in the Gemara throughout the Masechet, that they're talking about yeshuvim, or like little shtetl kind of things in Bavel, that they had Sanhedrin Ktana. So Sanhedrin of 23. This is where we're starting to say it's not every tiny community will start having Sanhedrin of 23, so it has to be something more regional.
Yeah.
And then we have Sanhedrin. And Sanhedrin of 71, they only in Israel, only in Yerushalayim, in Lishkat HaGazit, in Beit HaMikdash.
Only at the time of the Mikdash.
Only at the time of the Mikdash. And of course, they are the one that are the last ruling.
The final
Meaning, if you
authority.
have something that is complicated, something that is not straightforward, that the Beit Din is not really sure what to do, they will take it up a notch, and then they'll get to Sanhedrin Dona, and they're the one that are ruling.
Except for ruling, they will have more authorities. For example, if you want to start a war, you can't just do it. You have to ask the Sanhedrin, and it's one of their decision-making also.
To decide what day is the Rosh Chodesh.
Exactly.
In the times that they had to le'aber et Chodesh, so Sanhedrin Dola, that was one of her jobs.
Everything that has to do with Am Yisrael as a nation cannot be decided in smaller authorities. It has to be done through the Sanhedrin, and also having a new Kohen Gadol. It has to be done through the Sanhedrin. Sometimes the Kohen Gadol would be part of the Sanhedrin.
Sometimes the Kohanim used to be part of the 71 people.
Or even the Nasi, right?
Meaning not necessarily and not always, but they have the potential to be part of, Kohanim and Levim had the potential to be part of the 71.
Yes, so it's the highest authority, and I feel very bad that we don't have it today.
I'm not so sure that we need to feel bad. I don't know. It's a very interesting question. Once I've asked Rav Riskin, I said, wow, this is so horrible that we don't have Sanhedrin anymore. And Rav Riskin told me, Shira, don't be so sad about it. So it's something to think about. And maybe when we'll go through the Masechet, we'll think what the implication of Sanhedrin would be today. And I think it's complicated. There's benefits and disadvantages. I don't know. We'll have to think about it. For sure, I wouldn't want to live in times of Tum'ah v'Tahara. That's for sure. So I don't know if I want to live in times of Sanhedrin.
Yeah, but there's something about knowing that they have connection with the divine and knowing exactly what to do. For example, at a time of a war, like today, knowing that this is the right thing to do, this is what we have to do now. Like, I would be comforted knowing they know what's happening.
That it's not a human decision. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us what to do, and it's very straightforward.
Yeah.
And also I think that the importance of Sanhedrin was that it unites all of Am Yisrael. Even if you lived in Bavel, but you knew that in Israel there is Sanhedrin and you are obligated to whatever Sanhedrin is deciding, I think that's something that we're lacking today, that is unifying all of Am Yisrael. So we have to find a way to unify ourselves.
Yes. So
through Limud Torah. Come learn with us.
Start learn Masechet Sanhedrin. It's an amazing one, and we'll see you next week.
B'atzlacha.